I said shut up. Boom! Old school, eh? It's me, it's PLD.
And I'm Richard-Erik Jarvi.
And I'm Matty Gunner, and this is Class Action.
The most mathematical movie show in the interwebs.
Mathematical until we brought Jarvi back.
Jarvi, what do you mean back? I've always been here.
Well, we fired you for about a couple episodes.
We didn't fire him. We put him on administrative.
There was no firing.
There was I tried to put him up for fire, and we had an intense review. Human resources was brought in. Jarvi, you did fail us. What do you have to say for yourself?
Okay, if someone's failing us, you left halfway through the show.
I left.
The whole thing started with you leaving halfway through. I did the best I could with limited time. It was a friggin' mess.
All you need to do is 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. That's all you need to do. How can you add 1 + 1? That's what we need to know.
No,
are we going to do it?
Obviously, you saw that I couldn't do that. Oh, actually, because I've kept score throughout other shows. When I think me and Matty were on, the two of us.
Yeah.
But I got so panicked when I had to tally the votes, and there's no excuse. I didn't mess up.
Well, it wasn't until we got a nice, generous donation from what was the guy's name? Jay Cameron. That came with a note that we had to.
Jay Cameron.
We had to keep you on as like part of us getting the donation. So,
well, in case you're missing what the hell we're talking about, last week I did have an emergency about halfway through the show, and I had to leave. Or not last week, the week before, it was our show versus Juan versus Flanagan, and quite frankly, we had to actually issue a retraction because we got it all wrong with the math. So we apologize.
I got it wrong.
It'll never happen again. And that is true. The next week, Jarvi did turn to PJ Campbell for an episode. And
speaking of PJ Campbell, it was one of the greatest trailers just dropped today.
Yeah, I didn't even watch it. That's how upset I am.
It's your loss. It was mesmerizing.
I will say to get a report from PJ that would be saying it's less than mesmerizing.
Yeah, but you're not PJ. You be your own man. Let PJ be whatever the fuck he wants. You be you.
I always am me. I'm just saying I'm not even excited to watch it, but I will watch it after the show. I will let you know.
So guys, tune in the week after December 17th when we will have Avatar versus Avatar 2. Myself and Paul will not be on that episode. Yes. It will be solely Richard-Erik Jarvi and PJ Campbell. Me and Paul will step aside. It will just be those two, and that'll probably get our highest views ever.
You know what? Actually, Matt, I might have a better idea. Maybe we don't step aside. We just sit back and live commentate on it.
We do a separate live stream commentating on their stream.
That could possibly work. PJ, if you're too scared to show up, then I understand Jarvi will win, I guess. But
he's not showing up. Well, he knows he can't win that fight because there's you can't bet against James Cameron.
Gotcha.
You can't bet against him.
And either way, he's got to pick an avatar, whether it be 1 or 2.
Oh, that'd be tough for him. That would be tough. But that is enough. What are we doing here? What the hell are we doing? We're not talking Avatar yet. That's for a little while away. We are talking something else. But first of all, I'm going to talk about Class Action as a general. Class Action is a show where we put up 2 different items against each other: actors, directors, shows, franchises, and this time actual TV shows. We have never done TV shows, which is
first time ever.
First time I've gotten to do this. We come up with 5 custom-made categories. Put them up against each other in a class action lawsuit, a battle in the ages. And at the end of the day, we figure who's judged victorious and who's judged a failure. And in this case, failure means death because they lose in a steel cage battle. Something like that. I don't know. I kind of I'm trying to rearrange how I say things, but I don't want to change it up completely. But either way, this week's episode is a very special episode. We have on one hand House of the Dragon, the Hot D, the Game of Thrones prequel.
Hot D.
The Hot D.
The Hot D.
the Game of Thrones prequel, and the other we have Rock
And the low D.
Rings
No.
of Power.
The low R. No.
The low R. The Rings of Power. On the other hand, the Lord of the Rings prequel based on the Tolkien lore, regardless. Now, this has actually got a lot of hot traction for us. I got to say that, like, I've had people messaging me saying they wanted to be on the show. I said I had people talking to me like in tweets saying, "Can just make sure this is balanced. I'm scared for Rings of Power." That's what I heard. I was like, "Wow, okay."
Ooh, this is I just off the start. I love Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. I thought it did an amazing job.
And I think we should also preface this that I have never watched Game of Thrones. So and I was talking to Ken Knapsack about this. House of the Dragon is my entry point to this world.
I think it's perfect. I think it's a perfect entry point.
I think it'd be very interesting to see what you do. Are you going to go watch Game of Thrones?
I am. I'm going to watch Game of Thrones after. I mean, I could do it because I can't fucking believe we got 2 years waiting until the next season.
That's what I feel.
Oh, is this how you guys felt waiting for the next season of Game of Thrones to come out?
Well, that was only the final the final stretch of it. Because it was yearly for a while, and then it got into a year and a half. It was never 2 years, I think.
I don't think it was
maybe the very last season was 2 years, but
can't quite remember. Yeah, it's hard to remember exactly.
I would probably after Andor, I'll go back and watch.
I'm curious to see what you do.
It's a good time. It's a great binge watch. I think I've gone back to it 3 times now.
I've seen some scenes like that. I've seen the Battle of the Bastards and stuff because I went to a Game of Thrones live concert. So they played some scenes on the screen. So I've seen some scenes from Game of Thrones. I just no idea what.
Gotcha. All right.
The context around them.
That's fair. All right. Well, I'm definitely interested to hear what you have to say. I mean, like, I won't say anything about it. I mean, I can't have avoided some things here and there because it's been out for such a long time. But I mean, definitely has a great. How many seasons? It was 7 seasons, Jarvi, or was it 8? I can't remember. If it was 8
I think it was. Wasn't it? It was 8 or 9.
I don't remember. It's all kind of gone. I know that it's really amazing for the first most of it, and then like it kind of does a little tail off at the end when they ran out of the source material. That's the turning point. You can almost tell when they ran out of the source material and they had to finish it up.
Yeah, isn't George R.R. Martin still writing the book for the last?
He is. He's got 2 books left to write.
Yeah, interesting.
So he's
writing Fire and Blood Part 2 as well.
And Tolkien never finished his other works.
Well, Tolkien, that's a different kind of thing because George R.R. Martin has a set story in place, like a 7-book series that he had in place. And he's got those 2 books left to write. Tolkien was kind of just always writing things. He was always adding to his.
I don't know. That's what started with George R.R. Martin as well. It was a way more compact story, way less characters, and it's been expanding with every book. I think there's no way that he's gonna finish those.
Well, I don't know if he is either, but I'm saying the original story it's like that's the Lord of the Rings trilogy is George R.R. Martin's 7-book Song of Ice and Fire. Whether he finishes it or not is another story because he keeps pushing it off and doing other stuff.
I don't think he will.
His similarity, and I don't know either. He says he's close. He said he's close finally for this last one. Oh,
making money on the TV.
He did get to. He did get. I think he's also a little scared because the ending wasn't exactly well received.
For sure.
But at the same time, like it's a difference of having like a Bible to work with and having like a bullet point to work with, and the bullet points just don't come off as well. They and Benioff and whoever they got kicked in, Benioff and Weiss couldn't quite stick the landing without the.
I think I'm going to take it like the Star Wars novelizations because you have the movies, but then you also have the novelizations around of the movies that add the extra.
Yeah, the books are better. I'm not going to lie, even better than the series. I think I've read all the books. I just think they're just more detailed and more. There's a lot more stuff going on that they had to compact into a 10-episode series of a season. The earliest on seasons are pretty
exactly by the book,
as close as you can get by the book. To be honest with you, given everything going on, they have to place some things down here and there, but mostly it's pretty close. And yes. How many books are there in the Lord of the Rings series? Well, there's the trilogy. There's the Hobbit, and there's the trilogy.
Hobbit.
Besides that, it's basically one. The
Silmarillion, isn't that?
That's the Fire and Blood of the Tolkien world.
Yes.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings is one book split into 3 parts. That's exactly true.
I got to shout out Lego because she did a like massive in-depth like hour-long deep dive of all the like the Tolkien lore and stuff before Rings of Power came out, and I watched the whole thing. And
okay.
A lot of it kind of like went in one ear out the other, not because of like how the video was done, but there was just like so much.
It's so
there
rich.
is.
Like, oh my god, there's a lot.
I gotta tell you, like, I mean, Lego, friend of the podcast, Lego, I love her. She's a Tolkien. She knows
Tolkien
what
head.
about Tolkien head. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read all the stuff, and I consider myself versed enough in the Tolkien lore, but I've forgotten a lot of it because I read the Silmarillion once back in the day. And it's the thing is, it's about Silmarillion is it is kind of like A World of Ice and Fire was. It's not exactly a novel. Silmarillion is just like a collection of stories and a collection of myths, like all kind of thrown throughout. Like whereas Lord of the Rings is a narrative tale, just like Game of Thrones, a narrative. Like Song of Ice and Fire is a narrative tale. These are more like just other pieces of world they're putting together. And the Lord of the Rings stuff is even different than the Fire and Blood, because Lord of the Rings is like they actually can't even use the Silmarillion. They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion.
Yeah, because they don't have the rights to it. Yeah,
they don't have this. So basically, all the stuff, the story from Rings of Power is a story that's supposed to be in the area of the Silmarillion, but because they can't use it, they can only use the appendices that were in Lord of the Rings, which kind of went over almost bullet pointed some of the Silmarillion type stuff. So they've changed some things. That's what a lot of some Ring of Power fans or some Tolkien fans and purists are not happy with.
I love that about House of the Dragon, because to that very point, I saw a lot of stuff from like fans being upset with some of the character changes in House of the Dragon, and I was sitting back like, I don't know him, so I don't give a fuck.
It's a good place to be in, actually, to be honest with you.
You can do a lot of these dramatizations of these. Well, because Fire and Blood is in the same realm of Silmarillion, where it's giving you the history
overview,
the big moments, what's happening, but it's not giving you everything about the characters.
Right.
So there's a lot of room for
why that's why even George R.R. Martin said that Viserys was actually done better on the
we
show.
We'll
get to that.
Yeah. Real quick, Reefism in the chat, of course. Yes, I did read all of the Game of Thrones books that are available so far.
I'm 4 books
waiting on it. Yeah, they only have 5, so you're almost there. And there's
I'm on the 4th. It's still halfway there.
And then, guys, have you seen the Lord of the Rings animated films? I have.
No, I haven't.
I actually grew up with the Hobbit animated film, which is one of my favorites when I was a kid growing up. So I do have a lot of fondness for that. I watched the Lord of the Rings animated film once, and only once. And
you got someone who hates animation and hates Lord of the Rings on the panel. So
yeah, I don't think you would have done that.
Well, we know how this is going this week now.
It's actually going to be very interesting because of that. I have to say. So, but that's what we're doing. Let's get into the first game we play. We had a good game. We always play the game. What would Ed Harris play? You get to put Ed Harris into the world of the Hot D or the Rings of Power.
This was extremely tough.
It is extreme. This is actually very tough for me as well.
I actually found it kind of easy.
The problem
him into Hot D, that's tough.
The problem for me, honestly, was
actually, and he's been doing it for years.
Not well, yeah, but it's not finding out. Like, it wasn't putting a character for him. But which one could I do? Because he could have fit a lot of these roles. I think, to be honest,
that's the problem.
Well, and that becomes the problem. But let's start out. Did you guys actually prepare this week? I don't know. Actually, that's the question. Did you prepare?
I believe I did.
You did.
I did as well.
Okay,
that's why it sucks again.
I'll let Jarvi go first.
Okay, Jarvi can go first.
Jarvi's the king of the Ed Harris game.
We'll put Jarvi
not when I prepare
up with Rings of Power. What would you put Ed Harris in Rings of Power?
So I went back and forth. I had 3 options. I went with. All right. So before I tell either of these, both of these characters have amazing performances. So it was really tough to put Ed Harrison. So I'm not putting him in because I don't like the performance. I'm just putting him in where I think he would fit best. And for Lord of the Rings of Power, I would love to see Ed Harris as Adar. Joseph Maul, he was also in Game of Thrones. He played Stark. Which Stark did he play? Brandon? No.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
I don't think it was Brandon. No, one of the Starks, and he plays a very similar role in Rings of Power. It's a very interesting villainous character. He is the father figure to the orcs. He's sort of the villain, but he kind of has, like good deeds or something. Like there's so much in him. He's such a complex character, so I would love to see Ed Harris tackle that one.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, Benjamin. He played Benjamin Stark. That's what it was.
Benjamin, that's the
young
one.
brother.
Brandon was the other one.
Yeah, he was north of the wall, and he was missing for a while. Yeah, I get that. I do like that. It's a good choice, actually. I'll go next then, Matt, if you don't mind, for Rings of Power.
Yeah, sure.
I did. I went through a bunch of things. It was kind of like I mean, in my heart, I would love to, of course, have him play Sauron or have him play Halbrand, as it were. I think he would do it, but he's just a little touch old for the role because Sauron's supposed to be kind of like an ageless kind of character. So I was like, I get that to a degree. So instead, I want to go something. He's still a little old for the role, but I think he would pull it off very well. I think I gotta put him as Elendil.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was my other one.
It's a very powerful role for him. It's a very military role, kind of thing in a way. He's very stoic, very cold. He does a great job being like a number one for the Queen. He would do this. It would be kind of a Westworld kind of role for him, but yes, less evil, so to speak.
There's a lot of sensitivity to him as well.
Right, absolutely. And him having the son and going through that, him being the powerful, him having the sword. I think that he would be a bomb diggity, and I don't necessarily mind Bomb Diggity in that role. That's right. I don't think he's and the actor who plays him now, Elendil, that's making the clip.
Oh, I think he does a great job.
He does a fine job, but it's not someone I could. To me, he's not irreplaceable. If that makes sense.
Lloyd Owen.
So yes, I do like him in that, but that was what I saw as the possibilities, as probably the best version we could have of him. Matty, what about you?
So my first instinct was to have him as Celebrimbor. But now that I really think about it, I think King Durin.
Oh wow, him as a dwarf?
Yeah, him as a dwarf. As the Durin's dad was called Durin, right?
They're all Durins.
The same name. Yeah, there you go. Ed Harris is King of the Dwarves. There you go.
I like that. There you go. Oh, that's interesting.
Or Celebrimbor. I'll take either two, but like for my pick,
very different though.
With King Durin.
But he could nail both roles, that's for sure.
He's got that like parental sternness to him.
Oh, for sure.
When the king is like telling Durin, like, no, you can't go mining into this ore because
he's down there.
Now we know we're down there.
Exactly. The Balrog's down there.
We're up the Balrog. He's down there. We're up here. You mind the wrong goddamn ore.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I get that. All right. How about let's go the other way now. Jarvi, you want to go start with Matty? You want to start off hot? Matty, Matty got the hot tea. Let's go.
Matty Guna.
In House of the Dragon, him replacing Graham McTavish as Sir Harold.
Oh, fuck, that's mine. That's the same one I have. That's the same one that I have.
Sir Harold. Okay, I do like that.
My original thought was Otto Hightower because, like, he has that fucking shit Weasley thing about him that I think Ed Harris can do really well. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, I want someone who's like a military man, grayed out, like seasoned vet. So it's got to be Sir Harold. By the way, is an awesome character. I love Sir Harold. He does.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. I do want to see. I haven't seen him get more because he is definitely strong.
Graham he's awesome. He's an awesome pick for it. But something about Ed Harris, the way that I want to see him in that silver armor, that was exactly like the thing that I wanted. And he doesn't have a big role either.
No,
it's kind of a minor character, but his big moment. We will be talking about spoilers for both shows. His big moment when he's taking off the cloak, like that's got fucking Ed Harris all over it. That's what it told me. That has to be Ed Harris.
That's awesome. That's a very cool pick, and I did consider that myself as well. I see Jarvi agrees with Matty. It's funny you mentioned the other thing you were thinking about, Matty, because that is the direction I went. Because I want to see Ed Harris playing Otto Hightower because I think that
I don't hate Ed Harris that much.
I know. That's
then you would have him as Kristen Cole.
But
all right, I'm just gonna say this. Like, I'm just gonna get this out of the way because we got a lot to talk about with the characters. Fuck Kristen Cole. Like, he's possibly the worst shit. He's up there in my top 3 shit weasels of all time now.
I get that.
I'm staying quiet for now.
I hate that guy.
Get there. But I want to see Ed Harris. The reason why I want to put him in the Otto Hightower role is he is very good at manipulation. He's very good at like when he gets it down to his games. And I want to see Ed Harris going toe to toe with Matt Smith, as far as like just eye to eye, head to head. The abandoned because like I like the actor who plays Otto Hightower, but
Ifans or Ifans, yeah.
Right? He's great in the role. But I
What's
think
the pronunciation?
Is more powerful. Reese
Ifans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is he is great in the role. The funny thing is, you know who he is?
You watch Harry Potter.
You watch Harry Potter, right, Jarvi? He's Luna Lovegood's father.
Yep.
Yeah, it's such an amazing difference
in
his roles. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's been what else? He's been in Notting Hill. He's in Notting Hill, like Hugh Grant's roommate. He's played all kinds of weird characters.
Legend.
He was
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep.
I think Otto Hightower is one of the best. Like there's so many best characters in House of the Dragon, but like Otto Hightower is
a bad character.
Well, that's why, he's fine. He's a great actor. I just think Ed Harris. I just love to see Ed Harris versus Matt Smith.
But you would say that about like some of the like best actor winners. You would put Ed Harris over.
I respect Ed Harris too much. I don't want him to be this kind of a despicable character, but not quite. So he's kind of the in-between one. He's like the gray. He's not a villain. He's not a hero.
Right. You'd play it a little differently, I think, and that would be an interesting way to do it, though. But all right, there we go. That's what would Ed Harris play. We're going to move on to the meat of the show, as it were. The trial has begun. We have 5 categories that we've come up with to put Rings of Power up against House of the Dragon. We got 5 categories, and this one actually, Jarvi was very excited. He had his off week. Obviously, last week was planned. He wasn't really fired for a week. He had planned because he doesn't quite have the knowledge of Freddie, Jason, and Michael that PJ Campbell has, for example.
What happened with that show? You guys, Michael Myers was the last spot. I was so sure that Myers is gonna sweep. He's gonna sweep everything because I know how big Halloween guys you are.
I predicted the damn future. That's what happened in that show. Where's my money, A24? Where's my money, Peacock? Where's my cut?
It's the category. That's what it is, man. You know how it is, Jarvi. Sometimes the categories.
That's where I gotta give PJ the little respect that I'm gonna give. He approached the categories exactly what I wanted class action to be about. It's not about picking the ones that you want to win.
Right.
You're objectively going, even if it's against your own.
And Freddie's his least favorite
preference. Yeah. And
his least favorite.
He went there. So respect for that, PJ, and that's all you're gonna get from me.
Well, the 5 categories this week, we're putting up the shows up against each other. We've got 1, better visuals, 2, better music, 3, better story, 4, better characters and performances, 5, better fist pumps and best moments, or higher highs.
Yeah.
Whatever the best parts are. What are the moments
same but different.
So, all right, let's get right into the categories. 1, better visuals. Who wants to start off? Jarvi wants to start off. I'm going to make him start off because that's just what
I wanted to start off with the music, but I can go with the visuals. The visuals, the first one, this is not as clear cut as you'd think it would be. I think Lord of the Rings, like the Rings of Power, sure, it has the budget, it has the flair, it has like the true abundance of effects. They spared no expense. That's all I kept hearing in my head. The Jurassic Park line, spared no expense, and it truly shows. House of the Dragon, I'm just going to call it Hot D. Hot D feels limited at times, but still uses its budget for key moments. And key moments in this one is dragons. Like, and House of the Dragon, like, you can see some green screen, like, weaknesses
trickery.
Here and there. It's like, exactly, it's trickery. You notice it. It doesn't take you out of it because the world itself is still so gritty and sort of like lived in, and you feel it, and you truly feel like you are back in Westeros. They do a great job of recreating the world. And with Rings of Power, they don't just use CGI. Like they don't just use CGI to wow us. I think they've crafted like meticulous sets and like exquisite sets. Like Khazad Dûm looks freaking extraordinary. There's so much you can tell when they're using effects and when they're using actual sets. And like one of the big moments where truly the visuals take over is when Southlands gets destroyed. Like the red like ash
mist
everywhere.
Yeah,
it is mesmerizing. And but also then again, Lord of the Rings also has that sort of campy design and set design when it comes to the Harfoots. It feels a little TV movie-ish at times. So I'm going back and forth. I almost want to give this to I kind of want to give this to House of the Dragon because of the dragons. But I'm still gonna go with what seems to be the correct choice here. I'm gonna go with Rings because it's the sets, it's the costumes, it's the makeup, and on top of everything, there's the CGI.
All right.
So I'm torn, but I'm going with Rings.
Rings of Power. All right, Matty, what about you?
I feel like Rings of Power had an unfair advantage in that they had the Amazon blank checkbook to play with.
For sure.
But House of the Dragon does have moments where you have like melees coming up from the dragon pit when Aegon's being crowned and like he just stands there and like that is a cool moment. And then you have obviously the moment in the final episode when he's like flying into the clouds. But it's not like the moments like when Galadriel and Halbrand are on the water in the last episode and they're looking at each other.
Oh, there.
And then like they turn and you see the silhouette of Sauron and Galadriel standing together that is so striking that it's just like, oh my god, goosebumps. Like that looks cool. And by the way, if anyone can hear like a slight whistling behind me, I have an issue with my boiler at the minute in the cold weather. So I apologize if anyone can hear like a light whistling. It does that at random moments, so apologies for that. But I House of the Dragon has cool moments, but Rings of Power's got the Amazon checkbook to play with.
Yeah.
I feel like they just went, here you go, have it all, have all the money you need, make it look good. Boom.
And they used it well. It's not just the money. They didn't just hit us with a bag of money. They like you can tell there's departments on top of departments just taking care of us visually.
Wow. All right. So 2 for Rings of Power. Okay, good to know. All right. I will echo basically what you guys both said. I don't think anything really new to add to that. I would say again that dragons are very impressive. Some of the dragon work and the dragon battle at the end there was really kind of cool. But it is a little wonky at times comparatively. It obviously doesn't have quite the same budget that the Rings of Power have. Rings of Power, I feel the best word I could say to describe Rings of Power and why I would pick Rings of Power as well. I feel like Rings of Power is more smooth with its effects, visuals. I feel like it's House of Dragon can get a little like choppy sometimes, and like it's also part of the storytelling because like obviously House of Dragon is more gritty, more earthy, more down and dirty, whereas Rings of Power is definitely much more of a epic kind of slick. Yeah, so it works out. Smooth. So they both kind of work for the stories they're telling. I mean, the visuals for Rings of Power wouldn't work as well in House of the Dragon and vice versa. But I do feel like there's a little bit more of a smoothness that I don't really notice much issues with during Rings of Power than I did during House of the Dragon a little bit. And you mentioned the Harfoots, whatever. I get what you're saying about the TV movie thing, but it didn't really bother me as much. It kind of gotten overtaken by the other great stuff that's in it as well. So there's definitely a drawback here and there, but overall, I think you got to go Rings of Power this as well. So there we are.
3-0 Rings of Power.
Wow,
this is
Jesse Swift. If you're out there, just so you know, we're giving Rings of Power a fair shake here. Just so you know,
For now.
I want to say Rings of Power because of different locations, but the dragons look great in House of Dragons. Absolutely.
Dragons, the friggin' dragons. They're getting.
I love how the dragons all look different. Like,
they got character.
Like Sea Smoke looks different to Rhaegar, who looks different to
Vhagar is just a fucking spaceship.
Caraxes, in my opinion, looks the coolest, but
That's Damon's.
I love
right?
that they all look like you can tell which dragon's which because they all look different.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to better music now. Better music. Obviously, we have two of the great TV composers, really, doing the music for both of these shows. Game of Thrones, very much a Game of Thrones, alumni. He's always been there for Game of Thrones and everything else. I always have a hard time saying his name. It's Ramin Djawadi.
Yeah, something like that.
Djawadi.
Ramin Djawadi.
Yeah, he is an HBO legend. He also does Westworld, which I love because of Ed Harris and everything else. He's great in that. And the music in that is phenomenal. He has done extremely well with Game of Thrones. He's done extremely well with House of the Dragons. On the other side, you have a legend like Bear McCreary for Rings of Power, who has done stuff like Battlestar Galactica, a bunch of things like that. Stuff. I love all of it. I love these are two of the best composers working in television today. Not gonna lie. So this was a very, very difficult one for me. I feel like Game of Thrones music. I can remember I didn't actually rewatch Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon for this. I watched it throughout. I didn't get a chance to really rewatch it. If I remember correctly, wasn't the first episode it had a different theme? And they kind of like went back to the Game of Thrones.
No, the first episode didn't have any intro whatsoever.
That's what it was.
They skipped it completely.
That's what it was. Okay, so I remember watching it in the second week. I was kind of like, oh, they brought back the Game of Thrones theme they're using. Okay, they're just going to right back into it and do the Game of Thrones theme. Which I was like, okay, which is fine. It's cool because in a way, like they used the Lord of the Rings theme. They used some of Howard Shore's music for the theme for Lord of the Rings, Ring of Power, to make that connection. So both. It's funny because they're both doing the same thing, but harkening back to these themes of old, and they're going to try to add some new things to it. So which one does it better? This is the hardest decision I had to make the entire episode because they both are so good musically. If I'm going to lean one way, I'm leaning towards Rings. Rings barely. I am, and I know
Howard Shore.
It is very Howard Shore themed. I feel like Bear McCreary is connecting. He's doing even a better job. It's funny because Ramin did the Game of Thrones theme, so he's doing himself. But I think that Bear McCreary took the feel of the films and the epicness of them, and I guess it really comes down to its personal choice. It's really personal choice at this point as far as music. I mean, all these choices are personal, but like this is so like there's no clear-cut winner for me. But I prefer a sweeping epic score. Like this is very much a John Williams type score for me. It's like a orchestral smorgasbord of stuff, whereas House of Dragon does what it does well for the show as well. But if I had to say one I'm going to listen to on its own without the show, I'm probably going to put Rings of Power on in the background. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I just want to say real quick, Haskell in the chat, good to see you. Voted ROP. All right. Fair enough. Love some. Everybody saying hi to Haskell and love both shows. Rings of Power took a while to get going, as did Hot Tea. But RP, I won't say dragged really well, but it picked up around episode 4. It was awesome. Fair enough. I did have a poll going in the chat. Interesting enough, of course, right now, it's 80% House of the Dragon. So that's where we are at this point. But we're going to find out. I'm going to put a new poll up while you guys talk. A new poll for this current category. I want to do that for the first. I'm going to try to do that for all the categories from now on. I just forgot I haven't done that in a while. So,
Jarvi, do you want to finish this category as you started the last one, or do you want me to go?
I can finish it. You can go.
Okay. When I listen to a lot of music, it's normally at the gym or in the sauna. That's like when my time to sit and listen to music. And while I think the Rings of Power, the music kind of, it's beautiful music to listen to. I feel like some of the music in House of the Dragon hit me more for the scene that it was in. Like Paul, like you said, like the music fits. It's catered to that specific point in time, as opposed to like an overall like soundscape, which I feel like, again, Amazon said, right, you want a full orchestra? Fucking go for it. You got the money to do it. You want a full orchestra, all the bells and whistles, go for it. But then you have moments like, I mean, even in the first episode with the miscarriage scene, like the music in that fucking pulls at your heart. And then you have the scene on the beach with Daemon fighting the crab. I can't remember his name properly, but the
Crab Feeder.
the Crab Feeder's army. When that music kicks in and Damon fucking goes ham, it's like, dude, I'm gonna go do a whole nother like 4 sets right now. I'm gonna go lift a whole more bunch of weight right now. Like, it gets me pumped to go. And I just feel like technically, as far as from a musician's point of view, I feel like Rings of Power's songs are more expertly crafted, but they sometimes I feel like they don't necessarily like hit me in the There was the one moment where anytime that Elrond and Durin were together, the music playing throughout that was perfect. It was like sweeping and bubbly, and like it set the tone for their friendship. But I gotta give it to House of the Dragon just because like some of those moments, it was like an orchestral version of like the Rocky montage music at some points. That was just like, yeah, I want to go run up a mountain. I want to go fight a dragon right now because of this song playing right now.
Fair enough. That's a good call there. Sean Wingley and Howard Shore over Jwadi over Barry McCurry. They're all excellent. Good choice. That's a good call. I like that.
I mean, Howard Shore's incredible. But I would put Ludwig over all three. But just me.
Sean Wingley, I prefer to call him Crabface McGillicuddy, as coined by Christian Harloff. Yeah, it's a good call. I like that too. Crabface McGillicuddy. That's very Christian. Very Christian. All right. So that's where we are now. How about you, Jarvi?
Yeah, the music. Music is one of the categories that I think I started on Class Action, and it's very close to my heart.
It is.
I think the music for both these shows matters 50% of the overall enjoyment of the shows. I think the music makes half of how good both these shows are. They truly guide you emotionally through the journey, and Howard Shore transports us back to Middle Earth without using that much of the original themes.
Right.
But it still feels familiar. The new theme song, it's big, it's lavish, it's flamboyant, it's also very heightened. You can feel sort of that elvish heightenedness, if that's even a word, but you know what I mean. Ramin Djawadi uses exactly the same theme song, like you said, and I fucking love it. Like, I had reservations about it at first. The intro needed to bring us back to the glory days of Game of Thrones.
Right.
And the themes in House of the Dragon.
Sorry, Jarvi, give me 2 seconds. I've just got to go turn this thing off quick. The noise is doing my head in.
Right. No worries. The themes in House of the Dragon, however, were much more sort of royal and heavy, and it sort of drew you in with these. There's a few familiar tones here and there. There was a lot of, Daenerys callbacks in it, like the Targaryen music when they're flying on the dragons. You felt like, okay, this is what Khaleesi was doing in Game of Thrones. And I think you could argue against House of the Dragon that since it is a more contained show than Game of Thrones, that also limits the music and the varieties and the artistic freedom, because Game of Thrones, you had all these different houses. You had the Starks, you had the Tullys, you had the Lannisters. They all had their own theme songs. Here we just get one family and their theme song. So, and also, like, it was surprising to me that Howard Shore was returning to, Jackson. Like, he's the only he was the only piece that returned from the Jackson trilogy.
Right.
And,
Jackson had no say in Rings of Power?
Actually, no, they didn't even turn to him at all. They said they would.
I didn't know that.
It was a big story back then.
They said they were going to. They said they were going to talk to him about it, and they just never really called him. It was kind of one of those things. I think they did use Alan Davis, who's more of the artistic designer. They still stuck with his designs and everything else.
Okay.
That's why it still feels a little similar to a degree. So I think they used him. But yeah, PJ just was like, well, they never really called me. So
they they got Howard Shore back. What they could have done is use very much of these familiar themes to get us back into the world, because he's the only part from the Jackson trilogy. But they they didn't do that. And I think tonally, both these scores, or the music for both shows, hit exactly the right notes for their particular show that they were in. And that's exactly why I was smirking throughout the entire thing, because Matty, you like verbatim said everything I wanted to talk about. I think it comes down. Now I'm going to PLD's argument. It comes down to preference. You can't really pick against these two. And I'm going with House of the Dragon because the biggest and the best moments, the most powerful moments, were guided by the music. The music was, half of the enjoyment of the show and these huge moments. So it just edges it out.
All right.
I feel like, and this is kind of my last, but I feel like maybe I can never remember to Ramin Djawadi. I feel like he maybe had the scenes playing in front of him as he was composing the score.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like maybe
fair.
Rings of Power was like, okay, we need you to write a theme for the Harfoots. We need you to write a theme for Mordor. We need you to write a theme for the Elves.
Could be. That could possibly be.
Maybe. I don't know. That's just how, like, as you say, personally,
Steve.
that's how, like, it felt to me. Like, Ramin was, like, had it in front of him. And with him composing all these live shows, that's something that he would be used to doing.
All right. The chat actually voting, looks like it's 75% House the Dragon, 25% Rings of Power. Okay, fair enough. Well, that's where we are after 2 categories. Let's move on to our next category, Better Story. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think
this is a controversial one.
It's a very controversial one, I think.
Do you want me to go first and just get out of the way?
Yeah, Matty, get out of the way.
I'll explain the category before you get into it. So this doesn't need to be lore heavy, this category. It can be. You can talk about the lore, but just, pure enjoyment of the story of the script is all that we really need. So.
Okay.
Real
That's
quick,
good.
Lego, the musical sunshine ROV is so specific, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
That's just,
See, this is why we have Lego in here for the Tolkien themed streams, because she's the genius behind.
Lego's going to be on PLD projects at some point. I guarantee that at some point. I do like working with her. I've been threatening to work with her for a long time and a couple of things. She wants to do a show about V with me because I was going to maybe restart that, even though I kind of stalled out on that and bring it back. We're definitely going to do something at some point because she is an amazing, insightful person. I'd love to actually. She was going to guest on Two Mediocre White Dudes at one point, but the scheduling ended up not working out, unfortunately, for one of our Halloween episodes. But someday we'll have Lego on PLD projects.
She may kill me for what I'm about to say then.
Okay. Here we go.
Both are great stories.
Okay.
I just feel for my brain, there was so much going on, particularly at the start of Rings of Power. I feel like the stuff with the Undying Lands and like learning how like the tree burning and stuff, I was like, oh, that looks sick. Like, and all this stuff, like where they go up north and they go to like that gothic looking castle and like, which I would absolutely live in, by the way. But I feel it wasn't until like maybe end of episode 3, episode 4, where I was kind of like, it got my attention. And I was just like, kind of like, okay, now I know what's going on. And I guess that is equal parts of a good build up and also a lot of stuff going on. You had this stuff with the Harfoots, you had this stuff at Numenor, you had this stuff with Sauron and Elrond and Durin. And I was just like, whoa. Okay, get it all in one spot so my simple brain can like process everything. It is 100% just me. And again, we talk about preference. It is solely down to preference. But as we talk about, like, we had a lengthy discussion about Andor before we started the show. House of the Dragon had me gripped every single week, and not just because of the violence. And believe me, the violence in House of the Dragon, oh boy, did it have me gripped. The bit where he yells, your daughter is a whore, and he says, I will have your tongue for that. And Damon just cuts his head off and goes,
lost his head.
He can keep his tongue. I was like, oh, this is
You're
perfect.
spoiling category 5 there, Matty. So
okay, I'll get away from that. But it was just like the political chess game between the greens and the blacks. It had me gripped the whole time, because especially the stuff with Rhaenys, because I was like, is she gonna turn? Is she gonna like side with the greens? But then she swears her loyalty to Rhaenyra, and I was just like, okay, whoa, I didn't see that coming. I thought she was going the complete opposite way because she got because of the line in the very first episode. Like Rhaenyra was very much like, "Fuck you, you got passed up for being the queen. I'm the heir. Fuck you."
Right.
So I would have completely gotten Rhaenys just being like, "You spoiled little shit. I am good. You took this away from me, so now I'm gonna get you back." And like, not to mention all the stuff he did about like their son and stuff. And again, I said at the start of the show, all this stuff about the character changes that apparently happened. I don't know about those, so I don't care. In the final episode, and this is massive spoiler alert. If you have not seen the last episode, I'm going to give you a 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last episode, Aemon's face when he realizes what he's done and he's killed Viserys. That look of, oh, it was a proper.
That was him, and kind of not him.
Yeah, but he lost control of Vhagar, and like it was a full-on moment of. It was at this moment he knew he's fucked up.
He's responsible.
You know what he would have needed was the Sahelo, the bond.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
Okay. That kind of stuff to me is just so captivating, and like shit's about to hit the fan in a way we haven't seen yet. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Rings of Power took a little bit longer than I would have liked to get to that point, because when we had the Pompeii moment, I was like, oh here we go.
But at the end, we're gonna say Matty likes the hot D.
I love the hot D. Okay. I love the hot D.
Then Jarvi, do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
I can go. I think I think Dragon surely has the upper hand in this one because of George R.R. Martin himself helping with the story, with the show, and giving it his approval. And it's not just we all wanted to see the story progress, and as it goes to the big question, can we restore the might of what Game of Thrones started as and what it progressed to in the midsection? And the answer for this question is absolutely. It freaking delivered big time. There was a lot of blanks to fill in. If we're talking just about the lore and where the story could have gone, there were a lot of blanks to fill in with dramatizations about specific events, and characters got more flesh. House of the Dragon was supposed to give us the Dance of the Dragons. That was the big war to come that was promised to us. That would, define the future of House Targaryen and Valyrian traditions, and we didn't get it. They pretty much gave us a few battles here and there, but no actual big conflict. And the entire first season was a build-up, a setup for the Dance of Dragons, an introduction to the characters. Now, that in itself should have been disappointing if I had known that in advance. No one actually knew that. So as the show was going, people were like, okay, we're 3 episodes, we're 4 episodes. When is and then you start to realize, okay, it isn't happening, but you're still very much on board. Now, this was a big setup for season 2, and he gave us schemings like tournaments, council meetings, small council meetings. That was some of the best parts in Game of Thrones were just these one-on-one conversations that happened. And they freaking pulled it off. The Rings of Power had a lot of controversy in this subject. And I'll just say this. If you want me to ramble on about how much they butchered their source material, then friggin' fuck off. I'm not going to do that, because the Rings of Power gave us a new iteration of what could have happened, what happened to Middle-earth before the big wars came and before Sauron took power. So the show started off kind of wonky, and Matty, you said it yourself. It took a while to get it going, but I think it was episode 3. It was when the big moment happened, when in Numenor, when they decided to go to Middle-earth, they had that fellowship moment. Everyone came together. Okay, we're doing this. That was the moment for me. I fist pumped. I was thinking, yes, it finally found its footing. It needed that time to set up, and it found its footing. And we also got used to how Galadriel was portrayed at the start of it. And I think her character changing, seeing what kind of person she was, and we'll get into that more with the character category. But she was a big part of the story and how it progressed as well. And the stuff with Elrond and Durin, it's some of the best Lord of the Rings storytelling there is. There's the friendships, the bond there.
I love that.
So this is I started
and
off
Durin's
thinking,
wife too.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing. But
do you have a winner?
I can't go against House of the Dragon, because it started off great and it finished off great.
Okay. I can tell that hurt you from the way
the
you
Rings
just
of Power,
the camera just there,
right?
like.
But the Rings of Power, it didn't start off great. That's my point. It didn't start off great. It got freaking awesome by the end. But House of the Dragon started off great, finished off even better. So it's got to be House of the Dragon.
Well, I will say real quick, Reefism does say Rings of Power is a more slower burn than House of the Dragon. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thought if you think about it.
And Lego also saying she can't with House of the Dragon. It's so gross. Hard nope for me. That's all right, Lego. We all have our. I'm not going to blame issue for that.
This is why we have Lego here. An elf, dwarf, Shane, black buddy, cop, horse along.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
Elrond and Durin 4 is great. Getting that was a buddy cop comedy. I would love that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, it comes down to me then for better story. I will say my initial notes came up. I said that House of the Dragon seemed far more intricate. A lot more wheeling and dealing, and a lot more little pieces. Well, because it felt like intricate in terms of. Intricate's a tough word to say. It's a hard word. What I'll explain it and then see if that makes sense. Then I think intricate in terms of there's a lot of moving parts in House of the Dragon. Everything's always seeming to be dancing back and forth about which way we're going to go on different things. Whereas Rings of Power is very laid out in an epic format. I don't think that intricate necessarily is better, but it's definitely a different kind of storytelling. Rings of Power has set in mind is they have 5 seasons guaranteed at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They have had this whole slow story mapped out. And sometimes I think that's to its detriment. Sometimes I think it's to its benefit. At least they have the time to do this. But unfortunately, they might lose some viewers along the way because they aren't patient. We aren't in a patient society anymore. YouTubes are getting cut down to shorts, and those are getting big. This is the way we are. We have
the TikTok generation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like that. I'm not even going to mock it. Whatever, people are going to ingest content how they like to ingest content, but it is something that we have to be cognizant of if we're going to be talking about these kind of shows. I'm glad that Amazon is giving Lord of the Rings Rings of Power 5 seasons, because I'm there for all 5, because I think it will be just fine if it comes this way. It's going to develop the way I need it to develop. As far as what makes it a better story, that's a hard one. They're both. It's kind of like the music one for me. They're both different kinds of stories. House of Dragon is much more of a political chess piece moving political thriller kind of thing where it's about underlying and less about the epic battles, although there will be epic battles, whereas Rings of Power is a more traditional good versus evil manning together of the peoples of Middle Earth. And I love the classic storytelling. I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy, I'm a big Star Wars guy, big classic storytelling. It's kind of like, honestly, the way it is, it reminds me, Matty, of the conversation we were having before the show began. It's what Andor is to Star Wars. House of the Dragon is like Lord of the Rings in that kind of way. It's like a different style of epic storytelling. But I do have that love for the full-on adventure feel of Rings of Power. And you also said for Andor how it's so bleak and how it's so dark and so intense, and that's one of the reasons you like it. House of the Dragon is that. There's nobody in there that's a really good character. No one can really choose to go, that's the person I'm rooting for. I kind of like having that in Rings of Power. At least I know what I'm for. And that might be traditional. That might be too cheesy for some, and I get that. Because that's the reason why people like House of the Dragon.
I know who you root for in House of the Dragon. You root for the blacks, or you lose by number. If you root for the greens, unfollow me. Leave this show now.
True.
You're not welcome.
That's kind of true.
Follow the greens.
Maybe that's why I wanted Harris to be Yadak, and maybe I'd root for the greens at that point. But they are. So they're very gray areas. So, but which one is better? I think I want to give the overall to Rings of Power just barely, and that's almost because. It's almost because, you know what? It's hard for me to say, because if I got to judge it just on season 1, All right, I'm gonna change my mind. I'll give it to House of the Dragon for season 1.
Oh man, dude,
But
I was about to say this is your greatest category argument ever on this show, and you just took it back.
I'm not taking it back. I'm going back and forth because quite honestly, the thing is, I feel like I think Rings of Power is going to get there because it's a slow burn of a show the way it's developing.
Okay, I see where you go.
But I kind of wonder if I can just put it. Fuck it. I'm going to give it to Rings of Power. I'm going to give it to Rings of Power.
Do it.
I'm going to do it.
You argued for it. You truly argued for it.
And I love House of Dragons, so it makes it very difficult for me to do, and that's why part of me wants to say House of Dragons because there's much more intricacy to it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give it to Rings of Power. All right.
Like House of the Dragon is definitely more unpredictable. Even though you have the books, it's still more unpredictable. Lord of the Rings, it's like good versus evil. You kind of know where their story is going, but that's not the point. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, that's interesting. All right. Interesting to say. All right.
Apart from when we're wondering who Gandalf is and who Sauron is.
Fair enough.
Sauron is the new Mephisto.
Yeah,
well, really pretty much is. Well, he's the OG Mephisto.
Oh, yeah, that's true. He's the new Mephisto at
that
that point. All right, let's move on then to category number 4, better characters and performances.
I love this.
Okay, this one I'll start with, if you don't mind. And I will say,
go for it.
This is where I got to give it to House of the Dragon pretty easily. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I will say it right away because this is nothing against Rings of Power, but Rings of Power, the only characters to me that jump out, like specifically as that's a performance I want to follow specifically, is probably Elrond and Durin. That's what it is. It's Elrond and Durin by far. Those are the fun, great performances. But they're also kind of like Durin is a kind of a side performance throughout the whole thing. He doesn't have as much to do with the overall epic. I like Galadriel, but I fear the problem there with having a character we know, and they set it up to connect to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings in a way with theme music and everything else. I'm comparing her to
Kate Blanchett.
And she fails miserably compared to Kate Blanchett.
Really?
And that's not even to me, but that's because, honestly speaking, everybody would fail to Kate Blanchett's almost like my Ed Harris. Like, as far as like actresses go, I love Kate Blanchett. Love her very much. So with like when she pales in comparison, it hurts the show for me. I will say that there's some great character work done in Lord of the Rings, but even besides the Elrond and Durin of it, that the ones I put as the mainstays in that show, I do think that I had a leg up. Sorry, I'm breaking your heart. I am breaking your heart a little bit. I do love a lot of things. I love Nori I'm actually a fan of the Harfoots. A lot of people aren't. I think that Nori is a great Hobbit character. I feel like I know a lot from her. I do love. I love Ben Walker as Gil-Gadad. I think he does a very great High King for them. I do love Charlie Vickers as Sauron, the Halbrand. That whole character arc worked for me because of him.
So good.
He worked for me, especially when I wasn't completely sold until he did the turn. Once he did the turn, I was like, "Yep, I'm all in on this guy. I am all in on this guy."
I got to shout out Sean Sullivan for this because he put the idea in my head of he's a blacksmith. Like he said something. He was like, I can't remember who he said it to. He said like, "Don't you remember me?"
Yeah,
I can't remember who he said it to, and I was like, "Is that guy?" No,
I picked
he's
it out.
Pretty. He's too charming. There's no way.
As soon as I gotta be honest, it's funny. They kind of did that whole red herring where you thought the stranger was Sauron, or the
right,
whatever came up. As soon as I was like, no, that's not it.
Didn't buy it.
And as soon as he started like talking about the rings and making the rings, I'm like, Sauron made the rings. Sauron helped making the rings. This is fucking Sauron, isn't it? And sure enough, it developed. And it was such a great moment. I'm spoiling the next category now too. I do. Sorry, like I keep saying PLD. What am I hearing? I love a lot of what they are saying, but they aren't quite. Like, yeah, she says Gil-Galad and Gil-Galad are both miscast in terms of story, just like how they are written. They're okay. Fair. Like, I'm glad you can say that. I do think I do not like Kellen Moore. I do not think he's a good version of him. Something about him. He feels to me
easily like
it just doesn't. He feels like a human. He doesn't feel elven to me at all. He feels just like this normal. I don't know.
Easily corruptible.
Gil-Galad, I'm a little better with, but overall, there's a lot of stuff that it's okay. It's okay. But you compare it to House of the Dragon. There's so many. like standout performances in House of the Dragon. So many of them. I can't say that about Ring of the Power. I can say they're fine. House of Dragons, I go, oh my God, Patty Constantine. Oh my God, Matt Damon. Oh my God,
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Did I say Matt Damon? Sorry, Matt Smith. Matty Damon. That's been very interesting. House of Dragons.
That would have been an awesome cameo.
Well, now Matt Damon is going to show up in the next season playing a theatric version of Damon, like he did in.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Emma Darcy. I mean, like, how could you have these characters who they jumped up in age, and yet each version of them is just as good as the last version? Everybody in the show has strong moments. The only one, again, I don't love entirely was Rhys Ifans, which is who I put Ed Harris in that role. That's why I did that. I think Rhys Ifans is fine, but he's not a standout to me, especially compared to all the other actors we got going on. Like, he's the one that I'm like, okay, I could deal without him if I needed to, kind of thing. But everybody else, it's standout after standout after standout after standout. It's hard to say that House of Dragons is not better than Rings of Power in that case. Performances are standout. The characters are pretty much standouts. I got to give it to House of the Dragon.
Can I go next, because I kind of want to argue against some of what PLD said, and we were just completely on the opposite spectrum for this one. I think Rhys Ifans was freaking amazing. He was on the level of Littlefinger. He was like magnificent in the role of Otto Hightower. He was just enough of a shit weasel, just enough of a good guy at times, because there's a conversation where he almost flipped as entirely as a character for me. He said that he's putting Alicent on the throne because if Rhaenyra succeeds, the whole realm will be thrown into war because they won't accept a female, a queen.
Right.
That was a moment where he kind of he's trying to save the realm. Let's just put his own daughter up there. There was that moment. It didn't happen. It still went back to him being a schemer and wanting that power. But there was a moment there where he almost kind of redeemed himself. And talking about Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock, this is where I strongly disagree. Emma Darcy was paled in comparison to what Millie Alcock did. She and that's surprising because she was cast before Millie Alcock, like young. Rhaenyra
what I'm hearing out of your mouth right now.
Yeah, she was energetic. She had a sparkle in her eye. There was like so much movie star charisma there. I don't know what it was, and I don't have anything against the actress Emma Darcy. She was just overshadowed completely by Millie, and it was kind of tough for me to take that character seriously. Yeah, weird. It was very tough, and the same thing happened with Alicent. Olivia Cooke is the bigger actress, the better actress, but somehow Emily Carey, she was better. She was better as that character. That was this is where it's kind of weird.
I'm actually stunned.
And I like opposite you as well, right?
You have never left me this speechless on this show before.
But there's one character that you didn't talk about at all, and it's fucking Kristen Cole. He has become pretty much like the new Joffrey, and I don't know, like he's not that despicable as Joffrey. You will get into Joffrey soon, Matty. Okay. But
I'm saying one about like I know
he's flipped big time, and I love that about that character. I love that people hate him. That's what I love about the whole Song of Ice and Fire. You love to hate those characters.
I feel bad for the right up there. He's done such a good job, but it's like, dude, fuck you.
And that face is like so punchable in the best way possible because you can't stand that character.
I'd argue also, to throw it out there, you mentioned Hightower as Littlefinger. It's not Hightower, it's Littlefinger. It's Larys Strong that's Littlefinger.
Kinda.
Strong.
That's also a great character.
I mean, he's very got the in.
Littlefinger's like the guy working behind the scenes, like
the puppet master.
Yeah.
This one just has a foot fetish. That's all.
He didn't. But he didn't come in like halfway through the show.
True, but he might be my favorite character of House of the Dragon.
Oh, seriously?
I can't wait to see.
I love hearing that.
Larys is your favorite character?
I think Larys could be my favorite character. I love when he's on the screen. You know, shit's gonna go down. He has made things happen more than almost anybody else on the show.
I
behind the
hate
scenes.
that guy.
I know. Oh, I do. I hate the character. I love watching him play.
When he comes like stumbling up on the boat, I'm like, dude, just fuck off.
But you know he's gonna get shit done. He's gonna get shit done.
I gotta jump to Rings of Power now for a second.
Yeah.
And there's one character, one actor that you didn't talk about, who, in my opinion, was like the standout. Is Arendir, played by Ismael Cruz Cordova. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it correct. So fuck everyone who said that actor shouldn't be playing an elf. He was the best fucking performance.
Yeah, I ask why
the best cast character. He freaking gave Orlando Bloom run for his money, like, as being an awesome elf. He was like, he had those elvish features. He had that badassness about him, but yet also the levity and the sort of heightened feel of an elf. He was, I'm getting a bit angry because I can't stand that hate that he's been getting. I just want to say that he deserves all the love because that character is fucking amazing.
Dude.
Yeah, it's good. He's solid. He's solid. I'm not a huge fan like you are, but I think he's very solid. And I know he's no reason why he gets the hate he does. So,
but now going back to House of the Dragon, now that is an actor show. There's no way Rings of Power can take this one. There's Matt Smith as Daemon, one of the greatest characters ever in TV, and we've got Viserys. Paddy Considine that character is not supposed to be as great as he is in the show. He was a weak king. He didn't do much. He tried to keep peace. He couldn't say the strong things, do the strong things that needed to be done as a king. But yet, when he dies, the way he goes out, the moments that he has, you think back, like, that actually was kind of a great king in its own way. Yeah. And if you know the lore, you know that Aegon the Conqueror is actually not the greatest king in the Targaryen rule. It's Jaehaerys the First. The peaceful king who ruled for 60 or 70 years in peace.
Right.
And when he needed to, he got on the dragon. He fucking took care of business. He scorched lands. He defeated enemies. But there was so much peace. So that's what Viserys was trying to do. But he was too much into that sort of peaceful camp. And I think it's Paddy's best role that he's ever done. I hope that he gets remembered for it. And I'm sad to see him go, but it needed to happen in the storyline.
Get that man every single award possible.
George R. Martin actually came out and said that Paddy
was better than
his books was. He said,
George R. Martin said that.
He said that. The character was nothing in his books, and Paddy brought it to life and said he almost wants to go back and rewrite it because that's how good he made out the feel for him. So that's a stamp of approval right there.
So good.
Oh, the crab feeder. Not a lot to do, but that body acting was actually really cool. There was a lot of body acting there. He was awesome.
Absolutely.
Love him. Corlys Velaryon, the sea snake. Steve Toussaint, also an amazing character in the books and great portrayal. Great portrayal.
Okay, Matty, it's up to you then.
I'm gonna start with love. As always, as my former therapist used to tell me, always start with love. I want to shout out a legend, an icon of British comedy, and my favorite character of Rings of Power, Lenny Henry as Sadok?
Sadok, yep.
Sadok, the Harfoot.
Yep.
He was fucking brilliant.
Because he was so cool.
Lenny Henry is like, he's a stand-up comic. He's a comedian. But like, while Sadok had like some funny-ish moments, he was very much like that caring, like overprotective figure of like, don't go too far, like don't go off the road, like don't go off the trail. But then at the end of it,
are strange. He said it so well.
Yeah.
But then he's like so untrustworthy of like humans and the stranger. Gandalf. It's Gandalf.
Maybe.
I don't think it is.
I think they're going to
just follow your nose.
I think it's a red herring. I do think it's a red herring. Yeah. I do think that they want you to think it's Gandalf, but it's not going to be.
Like he ended up giving his life for the stranger, someone like he didn't even trust, he didn't know, but someone that he saw that the stranger was helping them, and he ended up giving his life to help him and protect him. And I was just like, man, that overarching theme is just so beautiful and done by comedians. For some reason seem to make the best dramatic actors.
Yeah, no, and sometimes they can be.
I mean, look at like Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, like 2 examples there. Yeah, I don't get how they can do it, but goddamn, they can do it. And obviously, Durin is, other than Sadok, is probably my favorite character. I thought everything Durin did was hilarious and fucking brilliant.
Can I interject something real quick?
Yeah, go.
Real quick. First of all, Lego said it too. Sadok as a treasure, we loved him. Nobody, and I do. I want to amp up what you said. The moment is like his character was so good in Rings of Power because in terms of he has this whole idea where he doesn't want to do anything. He wants everybody to stay on the trail. Like, but it comes to a point where the Harfoots go too far with that concept. They don't let it breathe, but he does, and he does. He lives that nobody goes off trail and walks alone more when he does go off trail because nobody walks alone, and it's such a powerful moment. I want to also reject real quick. Following us purely, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take that back. I do think it might be Gandalf. I remember in the beginning I thought it wasn't Gandalf because I know Gandalf couldn't be alive during this time period, yada yada, or at least the Gandalf we know would have been a different version of Gandalf. But now the way they're futzing with this timeline and stuff and how they're doing it, it probably will end up being Gandalf. I do think there's a good chance it could be somebody else. It could be one of the blue wizards. It could be somebody else we don't know yet, wizard wise. But I digress. I shouldn't say definitively it's not Gandalf because I'm more and more believing they might just go the obvious route, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
They've done it so far. They did the same thing with Sauron, right? They went the obvious route.
Going the obvious route is not necessarily the bad thing. It's how it's told. So, but anyway, Matty, I'm sorry for interrupting. Continue.
No. You're good. I love the counterpoints, but like, I would put Matt Smith and Paddy Considine, just those two, over the entire cast of Rings of Power. That moment, and I know I'm probably going to spoil the next category. Like, after being away for so long, after being cast out by his own brother. I mean, he said, for 10 years I've stood by your side and you've never once made me your hand because I'm your brother. Hightower is a proven friend. He's a cunt. Like, Daemon is so fascinating to me because he doesn't want to be king. He acts like he does, but I don't think he gives a fuck about the crown. He sits there at the start and he's speaking High Valyrian. One day the seat may be mine. I don't think he cares for it by the end, and I think that it's so intriguing to watch him become like he's thinking about it. He's like, yeah, I want to be sitting on the throne.
He just wants his respect. He just wants the respect that it comes with it.
I think he
loves his brother.
I think he just. Jarvi, you hit the nail on the fucking head. I think he just wants the love and respect and attention from his brother. He wants to be at his brother's side, which is why that moment where Paddy's sick, where Viserys is ill, and he drops the crown as he's on the way up, and like he's like, "I'm fine," but then you look up and it's Daemon holding it. I was like,
which was improvised, by the way. It was an accident. That wasn't planned.
The crown was
planned that, and they were just like, just go for it. And I was just like, man, that was so beautiful. And Paddy, I don't know if anyone's seen the show Peaky Blinders, but he plays an Irish priest in it who is one of the most loathed characters of the series. Like, I fucking hate that character. So for him to go from that to this loved king who like reminded me of my granddad. Like, you have the family get-togethers of like everyone arguing and bickering, but he was just like, right now, shut the fuck up. We're all here together. We're going to celebrate this time together. And I did love, and this is Daemon is, and I'm going to get to this. Daemon's a walking fist bump of his own. But that
sure.
That moment at the end of the dinner, like Viserys is gone, and I can't remember the actor's name. The guy who plays Aemond is fucking awesome. I love him. He's such a little shithouse. I love it.
So evil.
But there's the bit where he's like, where he's talking about his family. He's like, wonderful, strong boys.
Oh,
and then they hit him, and then there's that moment of like Daemon just like sighs, and he's like, "Are we gonna do this? Like, we're really gonna do this right here and now? Like, I'll put out your other fucking eye." I'm just like, no words.
He backs off.
There's no words between the two, but like, I have no idea about the law. You know, those two are gonna see each other real soon. Like, Daemon's looking at him like, "I'm gonna see you soon, boy." Like,
yep. Oh yeah.
Now more than ever.
You're the young boy. You are the young kid. You are a kid. You may be like a little older, but you're still a boy. You're still a child, and I will absolutely wreck you. And he does that without saying any words. And now, when I get to my main point and my point, I'm actually going to push back against Jarvi here. Emma Darcy, to me, phenomenal. So I know we're running quite short on time, so I'll make it relatively quick. The way she carries all the traumas, like especially in the last episode, you have the miscarriage and the stillbirth, and then finding out she's been usurped for the throne. Like her father's dying wish has been gone against, and she has to snap to. She has to go from being this mother who has just lost her baby to being the rightful queen and going to war, and she's dealing with Daemon, who, by the way, I don't condone like Daemon knocking up his yeast like that. Why some people are shipping those two as a couple, I have no idea. That's gross. You're all fucking wrong for it, and I see every single one of you.
You'll get to Game of Thrones.
we talk about the body acting. That final scene where Daemon helps her to the fire, and you just see like the weight bearing down on her back. She sells that scene with her back. And then, like, she just turns and gives that look of, I'm going to fucking burn every single one of you to the fucking ground. I was just like, oh my, yep, I'm good.
She was trying not to go to war. She was trying to be his father at that point, not go to war when everything seems like you should go. But she was pushed there anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I agree with you, Matty. As far as I love Emma Darcy. So,
but like Daemon,
something
surprise, Daemon's my favorite character. I think he's the fucking. Other than this stuff with the binding of the niece, like he's just so cool.
All right, real quick here, Lego saying they don't have the rights to similarity, but the lore is different. So also Tolkien was not a stickler for lore. He changed his own shit all the time, which it's absolutely true. Which is why I always I can never take people who like get upset about the lore in Lord of the Rings seriously, because Tolkien was notorious for just like, I don't like that, I'm gonna change that, he changes it up, and that's fine. It's his story, he can do that, and I think that's okay. I always think these are more myth than anything else, and myth is something that you can change, you can kind of alter them. It doesn't have to be.
Hey, there's times I wish that George would take a lesson out of that playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt saying sorry, but Game of Thrones is so damn repetitive and brutal. Is no fun wonder to it. I'm sorry, Matt. That's absolutely right.
I love brutal, so give me more repetitive brutality.
That's an interesting point. Like, I don't agree with it, but I definitely get why he's saying that.
Yeah, I can understand, because it's part of the argument I had before. In terms of it is very bleak, and I do like a little bit of sunshine. And as Lego would say, hope, never forget that all who wonder and wander are lost. It's full of wonder and awe and hope, which is very Tolkien. And that's true. That's where it is. You go for hope, you go for adventure in that. And you go for the real dark, gritty realism for Game of Thrones, for House of the Dragon. I'm just glad to get both. Be honest with you. That's just there. So, all right. So we got that down. We're on to our final category: better fist pump moments, best moments. Wow. Who wants to start this one? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be you? I don't know. Jarvi wants to start this one, I think.
No, there's so many.
I know.
There's so freaking many.
There's so many. But which one has more? Which one has
Daemon's a walking fist pump in himself, like every fucking time he's on screen.
I will say, overall, I'll start it if you want. I do think both of them have tremendous highs. I think I might want to lean. My initial thoughts, I'm leaning towards House of the Dragon, if only because there were consistently more in House of the Dragon. Rings of the Power was a great show, but was a little bit of a slow burn. It did take a little bit of time to kind of build up to where they were big moments. When they got to the big moments, they were great. Like the exploding, when the mountain exploded, phenomenal moment. When the red mist comes, phenomenal moment. When Sauron and Galadriel going head to head, tremendous moment.
Oh, that was so good.
Smaller fist bump moments when Durin agrees to like betray his father, so to speak, and like gives the friendship to Elrond.
The whole friendship
was completely some of the best TV I've seen. Like, it just, they have that relationship down so well. Galadriel, when she realizes she fucked up against Halbrand, to where it really he's gone, realizing everything that's going wrong, that wasn't supposed to happen.
She's like, don't make two, make three.
Right. And then Galadriel jumping off the ship, even like that is like one of the first times they did, when she's going over west and she's like, no, I got something to do, and she jumps off the fucking ship and tries to swim back to shore like halfway across the ocean. What the fuck? But powerful moment. I mean, you know what's going to happen. You know, she's not going, because she's around for a while, but it's still kind of a powerful moment. There's so many good moments in there that it's hard to think, but at the same time, it's hard to there's those shock moments from House of the Dragon that really get you. You mentioned before the tongue moment.
Mhm.
Holy shit! And because you're all of us sitting there the whole time, every single moment. I can guarantee everybody who watches that show was leaning forward in their chair is going just say, at the same time as Matt Smith's Damon does. Say it. Just say it.
Oh,
say
I
it.
forgot about that.
Bastards!
And then you're like, boom! It's gonna happen.
How did I forget about that?
Holy fuck!
I don't know. I
Mhm.
remembered the him calling Rhaenyra the whore, but like the kid,
Yeah.
I forgot this out because I literally was like, "Go on,
Say it.
motherfucker,
Say
say
it.
it, say it,
Yeah,
motherfucker."
exactly. It's such a good moment. And a lot of those scenes are like that. Almost any. I loved one fist pump for Matt Smith to me. This was a non-fist pump. It seems like it's not. If you describe the scene, it's a non-fist pump. But it was the scene where Kristen Cole starts going after the gay lover of Rhaenyra's husband or whatever, and all you do is you see Matt Smith watching during the whole sequence, and he's just watching. And for the first time, he's not involved. Like he's not actually involved in any of the chaos. But he has this like kind of like smile on his face. It's kind of like, not even a smile. It's kind of like, tell me about to go down, and I'm just gonna watch this. And it captured the whole character for me. He's a walking chaos bomb himself. So many good moments. I gotta lean towards House of the Dragon. This is another one I do think Ring of the Power might develop as we go further because it's definitely got the potential to be up there.
Let's talk about the moment between like the relationship between Rhaenyra and the Velaryon that he was first married to. What's his first name? I kind of forgot that one.
You broke up for me, or maybe I broke up. What was the question?
The husband that
Velaryon
Rhaenyra had, the Velaryon
Corlys'
kid,
Corlys?
who was gay.
son.
Corlys' kid. Yeah, I can't remember his name either. That's why I'm bad at that.
Let's just call him Velaryon for now. Like you talked about the friendship between Durin and Elrond. They were supposed to be husband and wife.
Right.
There was no passion. It was like a fixed marriage for political reasons, but there was so much, like there was actual friendship and respect between them. Like the way they accepted each other, sort of, I'll do my thing, you do your thing. We will procure heirs because we have to. Laenor. That was, I don't know, that was such a, like, people nowadays, they fight, they break up, they divorce. That was sort of, you learn to live with the person if you have to. So, like, I'm not saying you should stay together with the wrong person, but they had to stay together for political reasons.
Right.
But the respect that was there, that was like so endearing. And the fact that Laenor survived at the end, in the books, he gets killed. This was also an addition. That was an addition, and that was such a perfect character choice as well. She let him go. There was still some sort of platonic love there that she decided to spare him. That in itself was like a fist bump, weighing in on the Durin and Elrond side.
Yeah, I like that. I like where your head's at on that.
I think another one would be where Lucerys and younger Lucerys and younger Aemond are fighting, and Lucerys puts Aemond's eye out because it's just like the older cousin like bullying you. Sorry, his uncle just like bullying him and just be like, "Hey, you're a bastard. You're not part of the family." And Lucerys was just like, "I'm still fuck you up. Like I may not be part of the family, but I can still fuck you up. Here, take a knife to the eye." I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. Another fist pump for me. Again, describing it like may not be like a fist pump, but when they talk about the white stag showing itself to royalty, and like Viserys is looking through the woods and everything, and like he can't find it, and it shows itself to Rhaenyra. I was like, oh, like it doesn't show itself to Aegon, doesn't show himself to Viserys, shows it to Rhaenyra. I was like, oh man, that's cool. She's actually the heir. But the ultimate fist bump is Daemon one-man armying it,
going against the crab feeder.
As soon as that battle happened, I messaged, literally me and Jarvi messaged each other at the same time. Like, did you see that shit?
If you did, go back again and watch it fucking again.
There was no sound, like there was no music for the most
part.
Zero
words by him.
That's it.
In that episode.
Yeah, he just like threw down the flag, held up the sword. Guy came out. He was like, "Got ya." and then just went
running. And the way that he was running, there's something you see people run in movies sort of. You can see that they're not sprinting. They're just trying to
Cruise
run in
everyone else.
Yeah. Damon, like Matt Smith, was just fucking sprinting out of his mind. Like, you can see him give the effort in that run. And that is a big thing when we're talking about these big action scenes. That was probably the biggest fist bump for me out of both of these shows.
Absolutely. They're both so good, though. It's hard. This is one of the hardest shows, one of the hardest episodes we've ever done, because I love every category. I love both of them for every category. Mm-hmm. So I can't.
And there's not just fist pumps for House of the Dragon. You talked about the shock moments. The both stillbirth scenes. Some people say they were so unnecessary. Why are you showing that? I had to turn away during both scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. It was painful. It was terrible to watch. When you finish, you just sort of have that, oh, they did it again. They fucking did it again to me. That's like I don't want to say beauty of the show, but that's what they do so well.
It is.
It's crazy.
It is what they do so well. Oh, man.
It is. So, it is Dragon for me, as you can tell.
Yeah, I can tell. So we got all three. All right. Well, I guess that will end our show as far as that goes. We've gotten through all our categories, so I'm going to have to tabulate this up, make sure I don't make a mistake like somebody else does.
You go over. I can talk about how fucking awesome it was when Vhagar just bit Arix and Luke to pieces.
And, wow. I will throw something up there before we finish. I wanted to make it. I forgot to mention this during my talk about the characterizations and stuff. I find it interesting that, like, in The Hobbit, and this is not Ring of Powers, but in The Hobbit, they had so many dwarves. They're all similarly named, and you really had a hard time telling them apart a lot of times. House of Dragon has those type of similarities. A lot of people who have similar names, but I don't have the same problem.
Everyone's so different.
Because that's how distinct the characters were.
Too many damn Aegons.
So, yeah, there are a lot of Aegons.
That's true.
It's the way it is.
So different.
And Sir Aaron, and Sir Aaron. And it's just like
Eric and Eric.
Eric and Eric. Yes, Eric. It's the same thing as I'm saying. It's the same thing.
Richard-Erik Jarvi.
Right, exactly.
But which one showed up? Is it the Eric or the Eric?
Eric. All right. Well, anyway, I've tabulated up while I was talking, so we are done. This is the end of the day. I'm sorry for some of our people in our chat. I'm probably not going to agree with it, maybe, but that's okay. House of the Dragon wins 10-5. 10-5.
I think it's fair.
It's fair. I will say that I don't think that the fact that it's not closer or whatever, and it's like not, I don't think is at all determinant of the value of each show or the power of each show, because I really do like these equally for different reasons. I just have a little tick toward another one for now. That could easily change in season 2. I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't. I think that Rings of Power is only going to go up from here. House of Dragon's problem for going forward for me is got to maintain. And maintaining is sometimes harder than building up.
We know that
Rings can build.
Right.
So Game of Thrones has done that to us once before.
Absolutely. It has that height right away. It's hard to be adrenaline pumped for 5 seasons and be like so into it for 5 seasons. Eventually kind of like you get burned out, you get tired of it. Like maybe that's what Matt's saying to a degree. I think Rings of Power has a definite chance to kind of keep building to be eventually at the end. It might be the better arc overall. The end of the 5th season, we might go, holy shit, Rings of Power just whooped its ass. And that could be. It could be because the House of Dragon could drop the ball at that point. I want them both to have. That's the thing is, I want to say something really quickly too. I was talking to Ken Knapsack about this at one point, specifically.
Casterly talk.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. I think.
Him and Alden and Reg, and Ace, they've been my saving grace to know what the hell is going on in this world.
If you haven't listened to Casterly talk, just turn us off. Go listen to it. They're way better than us.
And also go talk. Speaking of Ken Knapsack, listen to Force Center, Star Wars. His Star Wars podcast is phenomenal. It's
him and Joseph are the best.
My favorite Star Wars podcast, and Jennifer Landa as well. That's my favorite Star Wars podcast. I'm not going to lie. Even over, I love Alex Damon. I love all those things, but there's something about what they do, and it's the positivity that they do for Star Wars that I can't go it over. Because even when they don't like something, they find good ways to talk about it. It's so refreshing in this world. And yes, Matt, I know. Yeah, House of Dragons will only be 3 seasons. Yeah, you're right. I get that. But still maintaining even over 3 seasons is tough compared to Rings of Power.
Oh, but we're getting more shows. We're getting more shows.
Yeah, they're getting more shows coming out.
Cool.
That's why you got to watch Game of Thrones, because they're actually having a Jon Snow.
No, maybe we don't know. Maybe it's a prequel or a sequel. We don't know if Jon Snow's the rise. Matty doesn't know.
Oh, that's true. Anyway, but I was talking to Ken Apstock about this, and he's mentioned like at one point not liking the culture of today in terms of like we always put things up against each other, which is kind of funny because the whole basis for our show. But I want to throw it out there that this happens too often in our culture. We don't have to actually put Rings of Power up against House of the Dragon. We do it in a fun way. We try to do it in a fun way. We never want to bash another show or bash another movie unless it really, really.
And we didn't today. And we didn't do that.
And I don't.
Unless it's Moonfall, then I'll go in.
I don't want to. Well, that's different.
You can bash Moonfall.
But I do. I love the fact that we actually have both these series, and we can love both of them. And there's no reason to really pit them up against each other in terms of things, because you can have both. We can have both. And if you don't like Rings of Power, you don't have to watch it.
Yes, PJ, listen to this. You can love James Cameron, or you don't need to destroy another person for it.
It is true.
We can coexist.
That's part of a bit, and that's okay. So I just wanted to throw it out there because when he mentioned that, I kind of like thought to myself, yeah, like I almost like had a split second of like, maybe we shouldn't even do this kind of show because it kind of puts up that it not bolsters that negativity in a way, but we're trying not to. So I figure I came to the conclusion, yes, we should do this show as long as we keep maintaining that this is just for fun and that you can love everything, and it's about the journey, not the destination. So it's not really against each other. We love both shows.
To quote Forsena, we're asking the why, not the how.
Exactly, and that's what we are here for. So,
and this is our way of reviewing the stuff that we are comparing.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the way that we go through the reviews of it. So this is not a battle to death. One survives, one doesn't. This is, a constructive sort of.
Absolutely, let go. Absolutely, let go. Not put RPG.
I will challenge someone to go back through this video and find us shitting on any part of either of these shows.
Yeah, no.
And they are.
Emma Darcy could have been better, but
they are totally different. They are very totally different. That's why I agree, Lego. I understand. In a way, I don't think they're compared either. Even though I put up this show, or you guys put the show, and I was all aboard doing it because it made sense. Because it's just in the zeitgeist at the moment. They're both two big fantasy series that are going on at the same time. They are being pitted up against each other. So that's why I wanted to try to do it in a fun, friendlier way. And yes, I don't know if I did say that. Like I'm saying, you could like Rings of Power and just like House of Dragon, and I love you for it. That's perfectly fine as well. I thought I said that. Maybe I got cut off at that point.
That's Rachel Cushing, I think, loves Rings of Power way more, and I freaking love her for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and she loves both, and she's like me. She loves both of them also.
I know she loves both.
I love both of them. So they are really, and they are completely different. And go with your bad self. Choose to like Lord of the Rings. Choose to like House of Dragon. Watch either one. Just enjoy yourself and watch what you want to watch, and then have fun talking about it. We'll playfully rib you here and there, but we love both. We love you guys for watching us as well. So thank you very much for watching PLD Project Class Action today. I want to throw out there patreon.com/PLD Project if you want to join us for more. I want to throw out and join fellow patrons. Some great people we have, such as Danielle Ramirez, Brandy Parker, Jeff Alterman, John Lastrina, Kelly W., Brandon Buckingham, amongst a few others. And they are really the ones who help keep the lights on. I got to say, I really love them for it. Really appreciate it for it. A couple of things we got going on the channel. On Friday, we do have the next Crown Jewels coming out. In my journey through Queen, we are talking about 7 Seas of Rye this week.
Oh,
the first big hit that Queen had. So here we are. We're starting to get into the nitty-gritty now of some of the greatest songs in the Queen catalog. It is a longer episode. We do
I forgot you're on Queen too, huh?
I'm on Queen 2. I'm about to finish Queen 2. Really, it's kind of thing. That's coming out. And next week, I believe 2 mediocre white dudes on a film will make his triumphant return. Took a couple of weeks off after the Halloween run through with the Friday the 13th talk that just happened. I think you're going to see Friday the 13th happen real soon on 2 mediocre white dudes on a film. We're going to go through Friday the 13th. But first, for patron Danielle Ramirez, we are doing a twofer. PG and I will cover The Shining, followed by Dr. Sleep. So that should be a good back-to-back episodes of 2 mediocre white dudes on film. And of course, everything is going over to Spotify. Everything is coming here slowly but surely. That's right. We are at 298 subscribers. So if you were still in the chat here, I should have pumped this up earlier. I forgot to do it. Give me two more of you out there. Subscribe. Give me 300. That'd be a great thing. We're trying to gain some traction, a little bit of traction here, getting more views. I'm very excited about that. I don't really care about views per se, but I like the fact that we're getting out to people more, and that makes me happy. But yeah, that's it for me. I Paul DiNuzzo on Twitter. Come talk to me. Let me know what's going on. I want to hear from you. Richard, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Richard-Erik with a K Jarvi, and that was beautiful PLD. That was just beautiful to listen to. This could be like the sort of the intro or the outtake of Class Action and what we're all about here.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Matty, what about you?
Yeah, before I get that really was beautiful. Like, we're lucky we have such great people in this space that we can talk to and like learn from as well. Like, no one that we really kind of listen to or associate with like is of that ilk. You guys know the creators that we're fucking talking about. They love to bash on everything. But you guys can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. Speaking of Instagram, you can now find us on Instagram at Class Action Podcast. We're going to be posting clips and stuff from there. My band Mourner, we have our brand new song Hope Fell Silent, is out now on all streaming services. The lyric video will be dropping, I believe, Friday, I think, along with some new merchandise coming next week. So yeah, check that out. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah,
how do you manage? You got a new song coming out every week. How do you find the time?
I just finished the third one. I just finished the next one.
Nice.
You're doing crazy well. Like, how do you find the time? I'm impressed.
Having a producer that I can call like that and be like, hey, here's a song. Here's like, I need a mix of this. Hey, here's an idea. Make it better. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
I did want to also throw out there, I forgot. I think I put it. I'm not sure if I put it in the description below or not. But TeePublic, my store from TeePublic is back open, and I have a few new designs on it. We actually can get a Class Action shirt now if you'd like, Class Action hoodie if you'd like. So let me try to throw that in the chat here. Okay, I don't know if I put it in the description or not. If I didn't, I should put it in the description going forward. I really should talk about all of this before we started losing viewers because we were wrapping things up. That's okay. Next week we'll talk about it more. But until next time, everybody, we have finished this show. They've been judged. Case closed. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. It's all over. Court is adjourned. Bye now.